Alright, so we're going to be looking at the eye, the different structures and function. Alright, so let's start with our outer layer. So there's a tough white outer layer called the sclera, and this has a protective function. Moving inwards, we have what is called the choroid, and this is the layer that supplies nutrients to the blood vessels, and it also it contains melanin, and it prevents internal reflection in the eye. Our third layer, this is the layer of interest, because this is where we find our photoreceptors, the rods and cones. There's also an area in the retina called the fovea. Mainly cones are seen here, the most sensitive part of the retina. Alright, so the second layer merges into what is called our ciliary body, our ciliary muscles. And the ciliary body, it's attached to these structures called ligaments. So this is a connective tissue. It connects the muscle to the lens, and it accommodates, meaning the ciliary muscle can contract to slacken the ligaments and let the lens bulge, or it can relax, tightening the ligaments, and then the lens will flatten. We have a transparent lens. It's biconvex, so it's more bulging or more of a converging lens, and it does fine adjustment to the light rays. Alright, in front of the lens is our iris, which is a colored disc made up of muscles. So we have circular muscles which will relax to widen the pupil, and when they contract, they narrow the pupil. That's the circular muscles in the iris. The radial ones are antagonistic, so they work opposite to the circular. So in dim light, our circular ones will relax. So in dim light, the circular ones relax and the radial ones contract, while in bright light, the circular muscles will contract and the radial ones relax. In front of our iris is aqueous humor, so it's a colorless fluid and it helps to maintain the shape of the cornea. So this outer bulging part of when the sclera reaches the front, the outer bulging part here is now called the cornea, and that bulge causes refraction of light rays. So it helps to bend the light rays. The aqueous humor also helps to bend the light rays. And of course, our lens will further bend them so they can fall on the retina. The image that will fall on the retina is an inverted image. Alright, in the middle of the eye here is our vitreous humor. It's jelly-like and it helps to maintain the shape of the eyeball. Our outermost layer, that's the conjunctiva. It's a thin transparent layer and it protects the cornea. Sometimes it becomes inflamed, so that a person is suffering from pink eye or conjunctivitis. Alright, so let's go to the back of the eye now. We have the structure called the optic nerve that carries the impulse from the retina to the brain. So we said an inverted image falls on the retina, but once it goes to the brain will interpret it, and we're able to see things the correct way. The spot where the optic nerve leaves the eye, there are no light sensitive cells there. That's called the blind spot. Right, so there are some external structures like your eyelashes, your eyelid, the eyebrow. Those also serve a function, so you can deduce a function for all three of those. Right, how images form. We have an object and the light rays will bounce on the object and bounce off. It will then enter the eye where some refraction takes place, bending of our light rays. So they'll bend through the pupil, they'll fall on our lens and eventually form an inverted image at the back on the retina. That information is sent to the brain by the optic nerve. Alright, so on the retina also we have these special cells called rods and cones. Those are our photoreceptors. The rods allow you to see at low light intensity and you can see in shades of black and white, while the cones allow you to see at high light intensity, allowing you to see colors. Now let's look at how the pupil is controlled by the iris. So the iris muscles, they control the size of the pupil. So the pupil is just the opening that allows our light rays to pass in. In dim light, there's our circular muscles, they relax, and our radial ones contract. In bright light, we have our circular muscles contracting and the radial ones relaxing. So you should be able to deduce, why is it that the pupil is widening in dim light and why is it that it's contracting in bright light? So those are easy deductions. The next thing we need to look at is what is called accommodation. So we know that there is a biconvex lens in the eye. Here it is, it's more of a bulging lens. And this lens now will change shape to allow you to see things near and far. So that's what accommodation is, how the muscles or how the lens changes shape to allow you to see distant and near objects. In order to see something in the distance, we have our ciliary muscles relaxing. The suspensory ligaments will tighten because the muscles are pulling away from each other. They're pulling in the opposite direction. So it tightens the ligament, and what we find is a flattening of the convex lens. So it becomes less convex. And you're able to see there. For near objects now, it's the opposite that's happening. The muscles, they contract, they move more inwards towards each other, and this will slacken the ligaments. And we have, if the ligaments are slack, the lens bulges. So that's what we're seeing here, the bulging of the lens, and it becomes more convex. So we're able to see near objects. Alright, so the final thing you need to know about is eye defects and how they're corrected. Myopia is nearsighted. So to see near again, we said that we need more of a bulging lens. So sometimes the lens in the eye can become too convex. So when you're looking at something from a distance, it will not fall on the retina, but it will fall in front of the retina. If we're looking at something near, it will fall on the retina, but we're looking at a distant object, it converges before the time. That's because the lens is too convex. So what we need in order to allow the rays to diverge is a diverging lens, what we call a concave lens. So we correct nearsightedness by placing a concave lens, which will spread out the light rays and allow them to fall on the retina. Let's look at the opposite condition, hypermetropia or hyperopia. So this is when the lens in the eye is too flat. You're able to see distant objects, but near objects will fall behind the retina. The image will fall behind the retina and appear blurry. So because the lens is too flat, we correct that with a converging lens or a convex lens. So when we place a convex lens in front of the eyes, then they'll converge. When we're looking at a near object, it will converge quicker and falls there. Again, the reason for this condition could be that the lens is too flat or the eyeball is too short. For nearsighted, the lens is too curved or the eyeball is too long. So there are two reasons for each of the condition. There are some other conditions. For example, presbyopia or old sight. This is when the elasticity of the lens wears out, you're unable to see near and far, and it's corrected with a bifocal lens. It can also be corrected by wearing converging lens. Astigmatism, uneven curvature of the lens. So the vision appears blurry or distorted, and this is corrected using a cylindrical lens. There's also glaucoma where there's a pressure buildup in front of the eye in the aqueous humor. This exerts a pressure on, it can exert a pressure on the optic nerve, and then it becomes damaged, leading to blindness. Glaucoma is corrected using eye drop and can also be corrected using surgery. Alright, so on the screen you're seeing cataract. So the lens can become opaque or cloudy due to deposits of protein on the lens. For this one, an artificial lens is given as a replacement.